Welcome to the latest episode of 305 Vox Populi here in the town of Miami Lakes. I'm Mayor Manny Sid, and we have a very special guest today, my good friend Harry Wayne Casey. Casey from the Sunshine Band. Good to see you, Casey.
Good to see you, Manny. How's everything?
All is good. All is good.
Good.
Let me thank some of our sponsors, which you know very well. We're powered by Miami Lakes Auto Mall. Thank you to Fred Senra. Shout out to Fred. They're located at 16600 Northwest 57th Avenue here in Miami Lakes. You can reach them at 305-455-3540. The food sponsor today for our entire team is Gaucho's Gourmet Market here in the town of Miami Lakes. Thank you, Eddie. Great job. The empanadas are amazing. I think the team really enjoyed it. Casey, we'll try it right afterward. And our film production team, the Matter Lakes Academy Bears. Thank you. They do a phenomenal job. With the podcast, it's a school. This is literally a classroom, a real-time class where we not only do the podcast, but we have students that want to get into broadcasting, and that's what they do.
Awesome. It's awesome.
Which is really, really cool. Our guest today is a great friend of mine, Casey, somebody who not only to me is the godfather of music in Miami, opened the doors for everybody. Everybody that came afterwards, you're talking about Luke, Pitt, all these folks. The guy that opened it up was KC. Somebody that said, hey, we can be the number one band in the world and at the same time do all the stuff local. He had his studio here locally. Yeah. He brought his folks locally. So that's something I really...
Always stayed here, yeah.
Always stayed. I really admired that about you because you always stayed here. Not only that, you did something that not too many people do is you brought people up with you. You made sure that you helped out all these bands, all these folks. You
as much as I could. I missed a couple. It seems like, but
so I think it's really amazing. But yeah, KC and the other thing I wanted to touch upon before we get into deeper conversation. And KC loves this community so much. He reaches out to me all the time. Him and I have conversations because he drives around, sees things that need to improve, and I see that from KC because not only does he live here, but he cares so much about his neighbors, his community. He always wants to make so. Just wanted to give that quick intro because I think it's something that's really amazing. But welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
It's really great to have you. So talk to us about how did you pick music? How did you go from Hialeah High, the Thoroughbreds? Talk to us about that beginning.
Well, I don't think I had a choice like picking it or whatever. I grew up in a very musical family. My mother's sisters did commercials, local radio commercials. A lot of my cousins were making gospel records. So I had a musical family, so I was always around music. So there was never any doubt in my mind as a kid, like as far back as I can remember, that I was going to be an entertainer and this is what I was meant to do. And I never thought anything else. So I just did everything that had to do with music and put myself in, surrounded myself with music and put myself in positions that involved music, like working in the record store and the wholesale distributorship and managing artists and working in PR and sales. I mean, and then I also went to Miami-Dade for a couple of years because I thought, well, maybe I could I thought of even being a music teacher. So there was all these options in my head as long as it was going to be music. I mean, that's just all I thought about. And that's what I felt like my reason for being here was to have something to do with music.
No, that's really amazing. And I think and I'm sure it's satisfying for you is that your music, you're talking about when you broke in the 70s, your music today is still so relevant. You got guys like that followed in your footsteps. You're talking about your genre that you pretty much created, right?
Right.
Guys like Bruno Mars, everybody
Yeah.
kind of, you see that mold and it came from you. How does that feel when you look back and you turn on, you go to any sports game,
Right.
any arena, you turn on the TV, your songs are still
It's
playing
very
today.
flattering and very humbling. Because when we were creating the music or whatever, when I was creating the music, there was a lot of backlash. A lot of critics were, denouncing it and, really saying it was nothing. And to see that it's gone way beyond anyone's expectations and pretty much made liars out of critics is pretty awesome. And it's inspiring to know that I created a sound and a type of music that was to bring energy into people's lives, to bring happiness and to bring joy, and to know that it still does that for people is just the greatest reward of anything.
We were jamming out to music this morning. I told my kids, I was like, hey, I'm interviewing KC. So we were like jamming out. That's the way, in the house. So we really appreciated what you did because
Thank you.
But I think you just touched. I didn't know you had that the critics back then talking about, hey, this is not going to work out. So I'm sure they're not talking.
Oh, they were very critical of it. I mean, it was crazy. At one point, I just stopped reading the reviews because what was happening is, like the Beatles, like Elvis changed the music in the 50s and the Beatles kind of changed things in the 60s. We were changing music in the 70s, and there were a lot of artists, like rock and roll artists, and a lot of people that were nervous about that because music was changing and it was creating a whole new genre or a whole new sound or whatever. And so all the critics were, you could tell they just didn't like R&B music. They didn't like what we were doing, period. It wasn't even about like whether they were really being critical. They were just being critical because they just didn't like it, period. They didn't like it before they even started writing about it. And that was a sad thing to see that. And I just had to stop. I just stopped reading anything because it was just pointless. I mean, it was kind of upsetting in a way. And it's like, why are you attacking me? I didn't do anything. You know what I mean? I'm just making music like all these other people that you rave about. I don't think are so great, but why are you attacking us? Why are you attacking me? And that's kind of how I felt about it. But, you have to sometimes just turn your cheek and, walk away and, live for the moment.
That's so powerful, especially for young generations that are constantly being, they're on social media, they're being
right,
and they get criticized all the time. And sometimes they're like, they might not do what you did and kind of just keep moving forward. And you changed the game because the amount of artists that have followed in your footsteps.
Sometimes a critique is good. I mean, I've always taken everything. You got to listen to everything. I mean, I was told I'd never make it. I had everything against me, everything that said no, 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 and you just got to fight past all of that. You just got to go with your heart, go with what you love, and you just got to walk past all the negative and all the no's because you're just going to get that. I don't know sometimes if it's just out of jealousy or if it's just out of because someone can't relate to what you're doing and they think you should be doing something else. And, in your own mind, you really know what's best we all know what's best for us. So you got to do what's really best for you. And, it's okay to listen to people. I mean, I've always I'm very critical of myself. So anytime I start thinking about something I need to change or whatever. And then if somebody in a conversation, someone says something about what I've been thinking about, then I might consider doing it. You know what I mean? But it's got to be what was already in my head first. I mean, sometimes somebody says something, you got to listen, you got to make the change. You have to do it. You have to go beyond what your head's thinking sometimes, especially if it's going to be best for you,
The other thing that's
I know that all sounds confusing, but it all works out in a way.
Listen, you're perfect proof of that, right? So you were the number one.
I grew up in Hialeah, and music was, you had to be in New York, you had to be in LA, you had to be in Atlanta or Nashville or Memphis or somewhere. And I thought, how's that ever going to happen? And what was interesting is like Criteria Recording Studios, which is now called the Hit Factory, I think. A lot of artists were coming from New York and stuff and recording in Miami before anybody really knew about it. So it was amazing that there was a lot of recording going on down here, but there weren't very many acts coming from out of here. And the ones that did come from out of here were kind of one-hit wonders. They'd have one hit and never have another one. So it was pretty awesome when we had the first hit, and I thought, okay, well, that's it. And then with the second, the third, and the fourth, it was like, wow, this is crazy,
That is truly remarkable, and that's why I said what I said. You are the godfather of music here,
right,
in the 305, and open the door for everybody.
Well, I'm very I'm proud of living in Miami Lakes. I'm proud of being born in South Florida. I'm a Miami resident. I've lived here for 70 years now, and I remember when they built I-95, it was my playground, and and I remember when Miami Lakes was a dairy farm, and we would sneak over here and stuff like that and get in trouble for being here. And so, I love this city. I love Miami, and I'm proud of it. And I'm proud to be born here. So I'm happy that I was able to do something in my own city and for my own city that I love so much.
Listen, you repped Dade County before before now, right? Everybody talks. You see those shirts, everybody repping it, but you're the guy that started it off. So I appreciate that, because being somebody that was born here, I think seeing somebody of your magnitude, like, you don't understand, like, and I know you get it all the time, but I see it. There's times that you walk into the restaurant and folks point you out. They're like, man, that's KC,
Right.
and they talk about what you did for the Miami brand, how you put it on the map, and all that, and that is so powerful. The other thing that really sticks out to me about you as an artist is your love for your band members.
Right.
And I remember a couple years back, we met with you, and I'm like, KC, what do you think about doing an act here in the town of Miami Lakes? Performing this and that, and your first thoughts were always, I got to take care of my crew. Wherever I go, my crew goes, and I got to make sure, because
Right.
and I think that really stuck out to me a lot, because I was like, you could have just said, no, I'll go do it myself. You're like, no, 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 my crew goes wherever I go, and they're part. I want to make sure I take care of their
Right.
families. So when did that switch happen, where it was Harry Wayne Casey to Casey and the Sunshine Band, and coming up with the entire team, with the wardrobe, with everything?
Well, I mean, I made the records first. There really was no band. I mean, I made the records, and I used studio musicians to play on the records. And then when I started having the success, I thought, oh boy, I need a I need a band. So I pretty much had to ask the people that played on the record to go out as the band. I created the name. There was no. I called it Casey and the Sunshine Junkanoo Band. Actually, the very first record that I did, and then we dropped the Junkanoo after the second record. But in thinking crazy, when I thought, what am I going to call this? When I made the record, and I thought, I didn't want it too much near my name, because I thought crazy stuff like, if people, like, if I use my real name or something, and then I'm really popular and I go to buy something, they might charge me more or something, because they know who I am. So I came up with these initials, K and a C. And what's interesting about that is I worked in a record store and the warehouse, and the prefix, like when you ordered a record on Columbia Records, was a K and a C. Like Atlantic was SD, Warner Brothers was WB, but the prefix for Columbia Records was a K and a C. And I thought, no, that sounds like my last name, KC. And then, of course, in the Sunshine's the state, and I just called it In the Band. I mean, that's kind of, I had all these things in my head, but there really was no band. There was nothing. It was just me. So, that transition just happened kind of hapstakingly, really, because I was I'd been doing some background sessions, in the studios, some vocals. I did some songwriting and stuff with one of the songwriters there, and so I had some records on the R&B charts, and one went on the pop chart for a second, and then I was managing one of the artists there, Timmy Thomas, who had a #1 record called "Why Can't We Live Together." And I booked him on a show in Washington, D.C. at the Capitol Arena, I think it was at the time. And he was opening for Rare Earth, which was a group back in the 60s. They were on Motown. And in the audience, everybody was blowing these whistles and stuff. I was like freaked out, like 5,000, 6,000 kids blowing whistles, you know what I mean? And so I had been to a wedding prior to that. I think it was at Betty Wright's house, and she was another local artist, famous artist from Miami, even before me. And they had the Junkanoo Band from the Caribbean. I don't know if you've ever been to the Caribbean, to the Bahamas, whatever. And the Junkanoo Band, it's drums,
Yep.
it's cowbells, just a lot of percussion, horns and whistles and stuff. And I thought, and I remember like being, at this party, and the Junkanoo Band started playing. It was so infectious. I'd never felt anything so infectious in my life. As you stand there, you just can't help but move. It just makes every bone in your body just rattle. And so I thought, wow, I'd love to bring this to the world. You know what I mean? I'd love to bring this thing to the world. And then with the whistles. And so on the plane ride back home, I write this song called "Blow Your Whistle." I go in the studio, I bring in the Miami Junkanoo Band, and we record this song called "Blow Your Whistle" and stuff, and it starts making noise, kind of all over the. It goes to number 18 on the R&B chart, and
Wow.
it's making noise in Europe and stuff. And so they wanted a second record, and just one thing led to another, and
That's
then our third
unbelievable.
record took off. Meanwhile, writing the third record, I wrote another song, and I put George McRae on it, and that became number one in 52 countries, like in 5 weeks. And so our third song that I released, called Queen of Clubs, became a huge hit in Europe. And then the fourth song was Get Down Tonight, and that was just worldwide. That just broke everything wide open.
That is
Yeah.
unbelievable. That is really amazing. And talking about the songwriting portion, and here's where I feel like you've brought up a lot of folks, a lot of
Right.
artists. What do you enjoy more on the actual performance side or the songwriting? Because it seems like you've been extremely successful in both.
Well, I enjoy all of it. I think the most rewarding part of it, or the most exciting, or when I'm the happiest, is probably when I'm on stage. That has to be because up until that point, people are buying your records, you see them on the charts, but you have and the people have all this, they know everything about you, they have all this relation with you or whatever, but until you get on the stage and you're in front of them, then you get to witness and you get to feel them and you get to see them and you get to know, wow, this is what makes it happen. This is it out here. You know what I mean? This is where the happiness is and everything. This is what's happening here. So that's really kind of the most, that's as an artist, I think that's when we're able to make that final connection. It really makes it real. Up until then, it's just music's playing on the radio and things, and it's real in a way, but it's not real until you get on that stage and you walk out there and there's everyone. That's when it's real. And the songwriting, I just wrote a song last night that I'm very excited about, actually. And I have 52 new songs coming out sometime this year.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I've been working on it for 8 years now. And I think it's some of the best stuff. It's a lot different than I wrote before. I'm more of a commercial songwriter, which means my songs are a little bit more repetitive because they're more commercialized type of writing. Whereas some people tell stories where you can't even have no idea what the song title is, you know. But there's different types of writing, and I'm probably closer to a commercial songwriter. Yeah, I'm really excited about the new stuff. It's more lyrically involved than evolved than I've ever done before. Melodically, everything about it, I think. So I'm excited about that. We're releasing our single "Romantica," which I wrote with an Italian friend of mine, producer from Italy, uh, last year or whatever, and we're releasing that in a month or so. So I'm really excited about it. Writing is a different thing. Writing, like last night, I was just a friend of mine in England who I've done some work with sent me a track. Actually, he was on the computer, and he goes on the computer and he does these podcasts like we're doing here, and he randomly starts showing how he's creating a song. And so he started creating this song. He's jumping around in his living room or wherever in his little studio. And I said, "Send me that track."
That is awesome.
So he sent me the track, and I kind of had the chorus part. He already had part of the chorus, and I was going to add to it and just add a couple words or something. And then, and it's been sitting there, just sitting around for the last month or two or whatever. And last night, I'm laying in bed, and I picked up my phone, and all of a sudden, it all just came together, the words and everything. It was just, I wasn't sure how this was going to go, and I didn't know where it was going to come from. And all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, the words I just, on my phone, writing this song, and it happened within like 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. And I had this whole song finished. It was like, wow. And then, of course, this morning I went and made a few changes because when you're writing, sometimes you have to change some words that sound better musically. You know what I mean? So I was doing some editing this morning and stuff, but I can't wait to go in and cut this song. I need to stop because I have 52. I don't really have a room for 53 now, but it looks like probably will have 53 or something.
So later this year, you'll release.
Yeah, I mean, it was all supposed to come out in 2019. We were all scheduled to go May. What we were going to do is release, since there's 52 songs, my logo's been, this, when we first started, we hired this artist in Miami. His name was Drago, a Spanish artist. And he did graphic stuff and everything. So he was hired by my company to do our logo. Well, in our logo, he put the rainbow in it. That's where all the colors came from because of Drago. Had nothing to do with me or anything. Drago just saw that vision or something, and he put like the rainbow in our logo or whatever. So our idea is we're doing one EP every month for 7 months, which would be each color of that rainbow or whatever. And then the final album will be like all the colors, like in one. It'll look like it's when they used to take the vinyl and do it in multicolors and stuff like that or whatever. So we're doing 7 EPs or 7 songs on each one, except the last 3 have 8 each. So every month a new one will come out. So that was supposed to start in May of 2019. So,
wow,
because it's like I'm not touring, and I mean all of our shows are canceled. And moved everything we had. And this year I moved to 2022 just to be safe, not only for me, but for my crew. I mean, I already had COVID, but, just to be safe for my crew. And I didn't feel like I wanted to, out of greed or selfishness or whatever you want to call it, have people come out to my shows and be at risk of getting COVID or whatever. So I'd rather just stay off another year and, hope and pray that an end comes to all this and we can just all go back to our normal life, and then I could go back doing what I do for another 5 years or whatever it's going to be, until I can't do it anymore. And so
I think you shared something really interesting for aspiring artists, how songs really come to folks and how they happen. So a lot of people think this is a whole elaborate process, and you pretty much just shared, hey, you heard a beat that you like from a friend of yours, and you wrote a song in one night, and you're going to be releasing it. I mean, that is amazing.
Sometimes the process is a little longer. I mean, it all depends. I mean, every song I ever wrote, like Get Down Tonight, was not originally called Get Down Tonight. It was called What You Want Is What You'll Get. And that was the original part of it. And then I changed it, after, to Get Down Tonight, later on in the writing process. So, a lot of times you might go in just because you have the idea in your head. You want to put it down. You want to put it on tape somewhere or on your phone or whatever you have these days. Just so you don't lose the melody. I mean, many times I've gone back and where I put something down just so I wouldn't forget it, because if I don't do it right away, another melody will come to my head, and then I go, oh, what was I singing? That was so good. Now I don't remember it. So sometimes it is a little bit longer, but other times, it's not. And, sometimes like last night, it just came to me like that. It was crazy. For a long time, I was kind of in a writer or creative coma, I felt like. And part of it I created myself because the success was great. There was a lot of great rewards in it, but for me, it was very lonely. It was there were a lot of things that are not so great about success. And so when I would try to create different things, or I would start feeling that things were getting ready to happen for me again or whatever, I would do things that sabotaged it, And so one day I woke up and I said, you know what? You got to stop fighting this. You never fought it before. Stop fighting it. Just let everything go. Let God, let whatever, I believe in God a lot.
God is good.
Let God take control and just let things happen. You know what I mean? Don't fight it. Because when you're fighting it, I can't think of what I'm trying to say right now, but you're stopping the process and the purpose of it, with the natural purpose. So I woke up one day and I just said, you know what? I'm just going to let it all happen. And what had happened is the same guy that I wrote this song with last night or whatever, he and his partner are very famous DJ remixers. They've remixed Britney Spears, Lady Gaga, Madonna. I mean, they are top of the DJ mixing out of the UK. And so he had sent me a track a year before that, and he was going to come down in to Winter Music Conference and to this conference and that conference, and and that track sat around, and then all of a sudden one day back in December of 2012, I picked up the track kind of like I did last night or whatever, and all of a sudden everything started flowing. And here I was, it was 2012, so I would have been 2012, 62 maybe or whatever. So when I started out and my creative process was really happening, I was 22 years old, I mean, a little bit younger, but it really started happening at 22. I felt like I had come alive again. I had all the same creative feelings that I had 30 or 40 years ago. It was crazy. It was like scary in a way, because it's like I woke up out of this coma. And this is where the 52 songs have come from.
I think that's when folks talk to me about you, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you shared this with me about 2014, that you told me that you tour more now, pre-COVID, obviously,
Right.
than you did even in the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Right. I didn't tour a lot because
which is unbelievable. When I tell people that, they don't believe me. They're like,
well,
yeah, it's
I had an obligation to make records, not only for myself, but for other artists that I was working with here from the Miami area. So that didn't really leave me a lot of time to go on tour. And if I went on tour, that took me away from the recording part of it, because we didn't have all the iPads and all this stuff to haul around, I mean, the first phone I ever had was about this big and like a big block, So it wasn't that easy to take all these big tapes that are in boxes this big and that thick or whatever on tour with me or whatever. So I didn't tour a lot, especially Europe. I didn't like going overseas at all. I just couldn't deal with it. So yeah, I didn't tour a lot. I definitely tour more now. I do like 70, 80 shows a year now. And, it's awesome.
Wait. Repeat that one more time.
I do have 70, 80 shows a year.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah,
that is amazing.
That's a lot. I mean, and I could probably do more, but I make sure I take downtime in January and Easter with my family, June, August, and I never work Christmas Day or around that holiday. I work every New Year's Eve, and I don't work Thanksgiving. So I set times to shut down and regroup and stuff like that. So I could probably work more. I turn a lot of shows down. The 80 I do are the ones I accept.
That's amazing. All over the world.
Yeah, all over.
That is amazing. And I remember my kids, we were watching some of your videos the other day and talking about that transition that you had in the 70s and 80s, and even today, you had performed at a huge, I forgot exactly where it was at, but everybody was dressed like if they looked like they were going to a ball or something like that, and you were singing the song, "You're sweet like a honeybee,"
right. Same
and
old
like
song.
a honey, yeah. And you're like jamming out, having like the place is packed, but you see the I don't know if you remember this one, the audience was like very serious, because I guess that's when the transition happened. But now everybody's jamming out,
right?
And using.
Well, I mean, a lot of times it all depends on where you were. There were some places where the audience is told to sit down, do not get up, and used to drive me crazy, But I had no control over it. They were told to sit down, do not stand up, do not get out of your seat. Period.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why was that?
So a lot of times, if you see some video or see something like that, that's probably what was going on. I don't know. There's some places that have these rules and whatever. And I used to go crazy and, get on up, and they're like, well, we can't. And one thing, it's horrible to be like on stage doing this show. You see ushers running up and down, making people sit down and make it like, stop already. Let these people enjoy themselves. They paid good money to come in here and have a good time tonight. You want to tell them to sit down? You want to tell them, you want to be, all almighty in your security outfit or whatever, and now be the boss of everybody, Be the boss at home. Leave these people alone. Let them have fun.
Let them jam out. Let them.
You know, if I spend $100, somebody's not going to tell me to sit down. You know what I mean, or whatever. And now the ticket prices are a lot. I mean, back then, you know, we used to pay $3 to see a show. You know, it was it was crazy.
And you had, I think you release a song not too long ago that actually it's in one of the top charts. I know you shared it on social media.
Oh yeah, well I did a remake of "Put a Little Love in Your Heart" because I did this album about 4 or 5 years ago called "Feeling You the '60s," and it was just 17 songs of songs I grew up with or whatever, and how I ended up doing this song "Put a Little Love in Your Heart," which was just a meaningful song, was after the Sandy Hook killings or whatever. We were doing a show somewhere, and I just thought, you know what? I need to sing this song tonight to this audience. And we did a very stripped down version. I just started singing it kind of a cappella, and my keyboard player just started playing along or whatever. And I just wanted to get this message. I thought, you know what? This audience we need to just put some love in our hearts here. This insanity has to stop. I don't know how it's going to stop, but it's got to stop. You know what I mean? I think we've all lost what love is, and there's, you know, we've forgotten what loving your brothers and sisters are. You know, we've just lost it, and I don't know how that's happened, but we've just lost it, and somehow we need to all find it. We need to find love again. All this hate and all this other stuff that's happening it's too much, and it's got to stop. So anyway, I wanted to do this song. I did this song, and then I ended up putting on this album, and then we just re-released it after all the George Floyd thing and everything. And I just thought, you know what? I got to I wanted to do a dance version of it or whatever, and just put it out there again because I just felt the country needed love. You know, they need to hear this message. You know, so you know, we got the message out there. You know, and it made some moves and. You know, in the U.S. and Europe and stuff like that. I'm not trying to sell a lot of records. I just wanted the message out there. So, you know, I did my part again as much as I can do to get that message out there.
Yeah, and I remember right smack dab in the middle of COVID, KC sends me a text. It's like, Mayor, what can I do? What can I do to make people smile, to feel good?
Right.
People. So we did a Facebook Live right across in the Windmill Gate Shopping Center. I remember KC pops up. All the comments were popping up. Hey, KC, do you remember back then when I went to your house or this? We had dozens of people. And what was really cool about KC, he literally was reading. We read off every single comment, and he was like, yeah, I remember that. I remember, you know. So I
remember a lot. Some things I don't, you know, because I had my devil days, but
what was cool is that you actually put a smile on people's faces that day when people were going through.
Isn't that what life's about? You know?
It is, and that's what your music is all about, and so powerful.
Right.
And that's why today, I mean, anywhere that you walk, people are still jamming out to your song.
I hope so.
So you've won 3 Grammy Awards right throughout your career, not to mention 10 Grammy nominations. What do you feel, you know, earned you such amazing recognitions throughout your career?
Well, the Grammys is different because the Grammys is your actual peers, actual other musicians and stuff. It's not a public thing. It's people within the industry. So, you know, when you're voted in by them, I think that's a pretty high honor. I felt that at times it was a little bit political. I was a little bit upset about one part of it, but that's another discussion or another day.
By the way, you're not the only folk there was a couple artists recently that had that mentioned what you had just mentioned right now.
Right.
Not.
I mean, it's interesting. You know, the Grammys is really interesting. The whole process is interesting. You know, even as a voting member or whatever. And I think one of the biggest things about it, you can only vote for 5 people, and the thing is sometimes it's all done in alphabetical order. So you can sometimes get to your 5 songs before you've even got to L. You know what I mean? And stuff. So things can happen. And, you know, hopefully I just felt like something was a little weird, you know, because one of the ones I won was up against, I had out of 5 nominations this one year, I had three of the 5 songs were songs I wrote. And one of them was That's the Way I Like It, one of them was Get Down the Night, and another one was called Where Is the Love? And here, Get Down the Night, that's with like #1 records, all over the world. Yet those didn't win. One of my other songs that wasn't as popular won. So it was very interesting. And one thing that happened is I remember the Grammys kept wanting us to perform on the show, and I was scared to death. I didn't have an ego about it. I was so scared, and I kept saying no, 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 because I was afraid. Back then, back then, if you ever listen to television, groups would come on and they didn't sound that great and stuff. And I was afraid of that. I was afraid like these people are not going to get what we've done. You know what I mean? And I was just worried about that part of it. Even though I did a million TV shows after that or had done, I was just afraid to do that show. So I always felt like they punished me a little bit because I turned them down. And it was not about my ego or about anything else other than I was like, just afraid to do it.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
that is really really interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the end of the day, you're because it's not only the great. Were there other award shows around the world? Because I know some of your hits. I mean, in Europe and Asia. I mean, all over the
Well,
place.
I mean, there were probably, I don't know. I mean, again, I wouldn't travel. I didn't go to a lot of things. So, I have some stuff from Chile and stuff. Uh, uh, I have things from other countries, but a lot of things we never did even receive, like gold records and things like that from other countries and things. They just never were passed down to us, even though we were huge everywhere. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know about, I only know what happened in the US. And because I've been to Chile a few times and uh, the audience actually insisted that I get the award. Like after we finished, the audience kept chanting, "Give them the dove, give them the dove, give them the dove." So, you know, so it's so I mean, that's how we got some of those, but
That's interesting. So, but besides disco and pop funk and the genre, have you ever delved? And I think the song recently, maybe you had jumped in different areas into different genres.
well, I love all kinds of music. I've always loved R&B music more than anything. I mean, I'm not sure what R&B music is today. It seems like it's coming back. A lot of artists that I hear on the radio now from on R&B are like very reminiscent of old school 60s, that good real, R&B music. What really is R&B, the foundation of R&B music, like the Aretha Franklins and the Otis Reddings and all of that, all those Luther Vandross, all that great stuff out of that, that time. It's missing, and it seems like it's coming back. I hear a lot of some great R&B artists now. So there'll never be another Aretha Franklin or, I mean, or Whitney, but because then they're just emulating. But uh, so uh, I've always like the new album that I've done. I think there's a lot of different things in there. I still stay to my basic R&B roots, but I like a lot of different things. I like as long as it's got some feeling and soul in it. I love it. It could be rock, country. I mean, I just love everything. There's nothing I don't like. Um, uh, I'm not a big heavy metal person, but I'm sure there's some heavy metal records, and if they're funky enough for me, I'd like it. It's got to have the funk, or it ain't. It doesn't hit these ears too much.
No, no, you got that right. And who do you think in today's terms is the artist that most maybe emulates you? Kind of,
Well, I
not
don't know. I mean, Justin Timberlake, Bruno Mars,
that is very true,
um,
very true.
uh, uh, probably a lot. I mean, we've influenced a lot of people. It's you know.
Even the way that you dressed
I mean,
back
like
then.
I was influenced. We've influenced other artists, and that's what artists do. I mean, we all influence each other, really. So, you know, but it's interesting with music today. It's so influenced by the music of the '60s, '70s, and now '80s and stuff that you see it and you hear it. It's like I hear my sounds all over everybody's records and things like that. Yeah. Well, my stuff's been sampled by a lot of artists, all over the world, and Like you hear my stuff in everything. Like, it was so funny the other day. I was uh, somebody requested one of the songs I wrote for a new movie out of Europe, and I was on my patio, and I was playing this song, right? The song I wrote called "Don't You Feel My Love" by George McRae, and my niece goes, "What is that song?" I said, "It's one I wrote for George McRae." She says, "What?"
That's amazing.
That's like my favorite song. But somebody else had recorded and used the words in it, some other artist back in the 90s or whatever. And it was like her and her husband's favorite song, and they had no idea that I had written it.
That is amazing.
So it was really funny to watch her reaction like, what?
That must happen all the time.
It does. It does.
So what?
I'm even surprised sometimes. I get a call like, have you heard this new record? No. I had to go after Black Eyed Peas because they borrowed from Give It Up, exactly. And Ariana did the same thing with That's the Way I Like It on one of her songs recently that she put out. I wasn't too happy about. But yeah.
So how does that work when an artist wants to sample one of your?
Well, you're supposed to get permission. I mean, you see what the whole thing happened with Marvin Gaye and what was it? Oh, I was a good friend with his dad. Blurred Lines. What was his name? Huh? Robin Thicke. Yeah, Robin Thicke. And his dad and I were like very close. And so, they got to Give It Up from Marvin Gaye, which is interesting because that version of the Marvin Gaye song, me and my partner at the time did the remix for that song Got to Give It Up by Marvin Gaye. So
That's amazing. No, but you're right about the permission. I was watching when Cisco had his top hit. He forgot to get permission. I forgot the artist's name. So when the song comes out, it was a #1 song in the world. Cisco's blowing up. He went from Drew Hill to half of the song is now owned by somebody else.
Yeah,
because of not getting that is
exactly.
And I think that's so important for up and coming artists to understand that, hey, you got to get, you got to work with
you got to be careful. If you're going to steal or borrow, you better make sure you're covered, or it's not detectable at all because somebody will figure it out. Yeah.
That is, so even if it's a sentence from.
Well, there's certain amount of bars and things that, it says like 8 bars or whatever it is. I mean, some things you can get away with. But if it's outright plagiarism, then you're in trouble. I mean, there's only so many chords. I mean, I remember when I was growing up, there was this a 1-3-5 chord progression or whatever, and like 5 acts had it out, the same dun 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 dun. So there was Hang On Sloopy, Louie Louie, La Bamba. All these songs all had the same dun 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 dun. So it was like, I don't know what happened in all that stuff, if anything happened at all, because I think sometimes I don't think chords can be copywritten. Only melodies and lyrics, can be copywritten, pretty much the melody or whatever. But you could go too far with plagiarism when you're taking something that sounds too much like the original.
That's interesting. And even on commercials, I think there was an Applebee's commercial not too long ago that had one of your songs on there. So the amount of how does that process work when somebody says, "Hey, I want to do a Burger King commercial"? They just reach out to your manager, coordinate.
Well, my songs are administered by Sony ATV or whatever. Now it was EMI. They've been sold so many times. So now it's by Sony. And so there's departments, clearing departments or whatever, and these, stores or companies, whatever, come to Sony and say, we want to use That's the Way I Like It or whatever. What's it going to cost us? And that's kind of how it happens.
That is phenomenal. So Casey, as we wrap up today, you got any questions for me? I know we usually give folks that opportunity. I don't know if you got flip the script.
Well, how did you get into your political career?
Hey, that's a great question. I wanted to be a marine biologist. I then my mom put me into a camp and I realized I get seasick. So I get seasick all the time. So
Oh,
yeah, that career was over. So I was going to Miami-Dade,
right.
exactly where you went, and I took a couple classes, got inspired, said, you know what, everything revolves. There's politics in everything, right? So that's where I was like, you know what, I think this is the way I want to go. I at 21, I became an aide in the Florida legislature up in Tallahassee, and
Right.
the rest is I spent 7 years up there, and the rest is history. Now I have an incredible honor being mayor.
And how do you maneuver through all the politics part of it?
Oh man,
That's pretty tough, right?
it is the beneficial part of being a local elected official is that I don't have a D or an R next to my name, so
Right.
I get to create more consensus based on good ideas.
But you get accused of being D or R.
Oh, it happens all the time, and I think you're seeing more and more partisan politics seeping into local races. I mean, just there was an election in Miami Springs the other day, and the local Democratic Party was touting a victory in a local nonpartisan race, and the Republicans did the same last night when a good friend of mine won the mayoralship in Coral Gables. So I think once you start injecting too much partisanship, I
Right.
think we deal with policing, tree trimming, infrastructure, parks. Those are more common sense and
It
less.
needs to be about the people and not the politics, right?
100%. And
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons that I was able to win re-election now unopposed, right? So
Right.
because we kind of work hard to bring people together. So, it's very fortunate. But what makes my job easy, to be honest with you, is residents like you that care, because you drive around and you see something,
I do care, man. I really care a lot.
You always call me and tell me, which I really appreciate.
Because it's not only about my own thing. I just see, it's like a lot of things with roads and things. I see the people like, you don't drive these. I remember when we had the DOT or something come out to like look at because we had a major problem at our entrance or whatever. And they came out and she drove around at 10 o'clock in the morning when there was no traffic. I said, that's not when it's happening.
You got that, that happens all the time.
I know.
They do the traffic studies in the summer,
Right.
and this and that. I'm like, come on, you have to do it during the peak times.
Right.
But yeah, it's something that my job is easy because of people that care. We have a community of people,
Right.
hundreds of people that care a lot, and that's why we have the town that we have.
And I noticed you're in the restaurant business now. So how do you like that?
Oh man, it's a grind, but it's very fulfilling because similar to music, you make people happy, right?
Right.
And I think that is something that I really enjoy because you sit down with folks and you break bread, and I think having those conversations. Like the other day, I think I was hanging out with one of your.
I know. I warned you, but you didn't listen.
but it's okay because I think over food, it's like music. We have two things. We're always
Right.
playing music at the restaurant. A lot of times we're playing your station.
I've heard it a few times.
in Pandora and over food. So you're breaking bread, but you're also listening to great music. And I think that combination is.
You know what I think is great? It's like when I walk in there to see you as the owner, one of the owners, in your own place, and I think that's important because a lot of places you don't see the guy that owns the place, that runs the place, and I think that's a good thing, and I got to give you props for that because you don't have to do that, but you care enough to want to do that. So,
No,
like you care about Miami Lakes, so it shows that you really care.
I'm there all the time.
I know you fight with a lot of political stuff and you have to deal with that, but aside from that part of it, I know you care. I know you care.
I really appreciate that, Casey. I actually came here today. I was gonna serenade you with my kids. Were like, you gotta sing to them one of your songs. I was like, I'm not. I can't do that. If you wanted me to, I would. But
Well, everybody can. Give them a little treat.
oh, you want me to sing one of your songs?
Oh, go for it.
All right,
Go for it. This is like history.
What song? What song? I'm gonna have to. I won't sing the whole thing.
You can't do a lot of it because we'd have to pay for it. But
Yeah, no. What song do you think would be? What are your songs you think you'd want to hear me sing?
I don't. Maybe Boogie Shoes would be easier. Like,
So just like the first 30 seconds.
yeah, the chorus. You know it.
All right.
Oh, look, you got the whole thing. You know the words?
Girl, to be with you is my favorite thing. I can't wait till I
see you again. Yeah, yeah. I wanna put on my boogie shoes. Just boogie with you. Yeah. I wanna put on my boogie shoes. Boogie with you. Yeah, that's good, man. All right. Mayor Mary Sid, ladies and gentlemen, right here on Miami Lake's own radio station.
Thank you, KC. We really
Thank you.
appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me, man. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. And
Now I got to go talk to Sosa about something.
We'll make it happen. We'll make it happen. But thank you for coming on. I think
you.
you're an incredible inspiration to
Thank you.
future generations. I know some of our producers want to follow in your footsteps. So just by your presence alone and what you shared today, I think that is
follow your
remarkable.
heart, follow your dreams, and go for it. You have nothing to lose. Make sure you're doing something that you love to do, because that's what's going to take you further than anything else. If you just settle for something less other than what you really want to do, you're wasting your time in a way. So go for what you love. Immerse yourself, in what you love. I remember a friend of mine, he wanted to be a football player. I'll do this real quick. But he never did make it as a quarterback or whatever. And I said, "What? You love football. Coach, do something." He became the head coach at LSU for a while. So
that's amazing. No, and that advice is priceless.
Yeah.
Especially coming from you. So.
Just follow it. Follow your heart. Follow your dreams.
Follow your heart all the time.
And put yourself in what you love to do.
So it's my good friend, Harry Wayne Casey
Thank
from
you so
Casey
much.
and the Sunshine Band.
You guys have a great day.
Have a great day. We'll see you next week. Tune in on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.